Good morning. Dr. Norma Milanovich is president of a training and development corporation in Albuquerque, New Mexico, and has served on the faculty of many universities, currently serving at the University of Phoenix. She received her Ph.D. in education in 1982 from the University of Houston, specializing in program development, evaluation, applied psychology, communication, and curriculum development. She has had a brilliant career in the field of education, organizing and directing programs throughout the world. Her professional achievements are recognized and applauded in classrooms as well as in the chambers of the United Nations. Her professional honors and awards would take the entire morning to enumerate, and while her publications and major public presentations fill pages, I would note two books in particular: We the Arcturians, and just about to be released, Sacred Journey to Atlantis, which concerns itself with a journey taken a year ago by 34 men and women. Not only did the group bring a new piece to the Atlantean vortex, which dispelled its negative energy field, but they experienced profound personal transformations in the process. The book suggests that Atlantis indeed may not be lost at all. Norma has been an inspiration and a guide to many. She is truly a teacher of teachers, here and abroad. She is a remarkably accomplished woman. From We the Arcturians, we also know Norma's newest accomplishment in the area of dictation. And thus we learn that the mighty also serve. Norma, we are most honored and grateful to have you speak with us today.
Thank you. Thank you all very much for inviting me to come and speak at your conference. The words were too generous, Morgan, and it's so funny because that introduction, it sounds so good, and then I get up here and say, and I talk to mother ships. Great. I just blew it, right? I mean, everything goes right down the tubes, and but I have to say that. Those of you that have read We the Arcturians and know a little about the content and the things that are happening, to not only me, that's what gives me comfort, is my experiences in the last few years are not unique. They're happening to hundreds of people all over the planet right now. So it makes me feel a little bit better about coming to you today and asking you to, listen with an open ear as to what I have to say. I'd like to thank, first of all, the conference coordinators, Michael Baldwin, Judith and Morgan Wheelock, Kathy Cochran, Trish Pfeiffer, and Harold Talbot for putting together this wonderful conference and for having all of you people come, because you've been great. You're the ones that make it, not them, not the six, that coordinated it. It's you. And I really appreciate having the opportunity to be a part of it, because it's been great in the last... The speakers yesterday were very inspiring to me. Every one of them, I sat in the room and listened, and I began to understand more and more why I was asked to come and present today and asked to summarize the conference. And it's pretty hard to summarize a conference 2 weeks before the conference has even occurred and to write the presentation and the speech. But so I connected with my invisible friends, and I got some information a few weeks ago that I couldn't understand how that information was going to fit today. In fact, I felt a little bit apprehensive as to, what is this all about? Why are you sending this information through right now? I thought I was going to get general statements of love and light and, unifying, etc., etc. And listening yesterday, starting out with Leonie Starr from England, and she's talking about all of the crop circles and the information, I realized that when I was bringing the information through on this conference, that I was guided to go and pick up an overhead of that Barberry Castle crop formation in England. And Michael Green, when I was there in October, my husband and I were invited to England and Switzerland on a book signing tour just a few months ago. And this particular crop circle formation that we spent so much time on yesterday is exactly one of the things that the Arcturians has described, and I arrive here and it's on the back of your t-shirts. And here I'm apologizing in the van from Boston, coming here going, my presentation isn't going to, make sense at all. I don't know why I'm bringing this information through. And I arrive here and I see it on your t-shirts, and it's like, okay, I'm beginning to see the connection. And then Leonie talked about that yesterday, which really did help. So I'm real pleased about that. I learned an incredible amount of information yesterday from John Michel when he spoke about the new view over Atlantis and the knowledge that that gentleman has on sacred numbers and geometry, etc. In fact, from him, as I'm ready, Jean and I are ready to produce a second book called Sacred Journey to Atlantis, I suddenly understood my own book that's been brought through from these beings that I couldn't understand. And listening to him, it's like, now I know why that's in the book. Now I know why this is there. And so I thank you too, sir, very much, because your wisdom was just right for me at that time. Listening to Ken Ring yesterday, and especially how he summarized his presentation about the externalization of the soul and working and what we are moving into is exactly the summary here that the Arcturians have asked, and Master Cthulhu and some of the celestial beings, because that has asked that I bring through, and it was perfect. I began to understand this whole phenomenon again from listening to him. So I couldn't have had a better day. I don't know about you people, but for me it was perfect. And so what I'd like to do today is I'd like to begin with an overview of the information that I have received. It's like hundreds and hundreds, thousands of pages of information that could never have been put in a book like We the Arcturians. It would have been too long and cumbersome. We had to weed out very carefully, that which we thought would entertain the reader and keep the interest, and then that which would just make it so cumbersome that they would put the book aside. And also the transmissions that we've been receiving from beings higher than the level of the Arcturians. And these beings are called the Ascended Masters. And even that concept blows me away. The fact that there could be a reality there, and that everyone on the planet today, if they should so choose, can connect and communicate with beings of such radiance and magnitude. So I'm going to talk today a lot about the information about what's going on the planet. And you have to realize, too, that while I kind of get excited about it and maybe have a tendency to say it as though it's matter of fact, please keep in mind that I'm a messenger for the information that's coming through, that this is really their game. This is like their play, their stage show that they are sending through, most of which I've come to trust and believe is a reality. But in no way do I want to impose this belief system on anyone in this room. And if you find just 2 or 3 things from the information that I'm going to present that resonate well with you, take it. Just take and just work with those few things. And if there are things that just you cannot connect with at all today that I say, that's perfect too. Don't worry about it. But I'm going to just give you my truth, my belief system as it's coming through from these other beings, hoping that perhaps it will help some of you understand some of the things that are going on in your life. Because as you recall, and I understand most of you have read the book, We the Arcturians, I tried very hard in Chapter 1 to describe in this book my personal journey, the frustration, it was at times anger, the confusion as to what was happening in my life. And one of the, coincidences that I hope Ken Ring doesn't mind me saying is he can testify that this Chapter 1 is correct, because at that time I was a professor at the university in a very the university community is a very structured community, or have you not noticed? Yes, you know, and these things are happening to me, and I'm teaching educational psychology in some of my courses up there, like methods of teaching, etc. I understand the psychology and the literature and all of that, and I'm so hungry to turn to those journals, the medical journals, the psychological journals that I made all of my students go to support every paper they wrote, you know, and I understood the literature. I went there trying to find answers in desperation, and I felt so betrayed because none of my answers that were to help me understand what was happening to me could I find in a medical or psychological journal. I was directed for some strange reason to call Ken, 5 years ago? So I picked this phone up one day and call him, I believe it was University of Connecticut, and I call him up and going, help, I heard about you. You know, can you help me? This weird stuff is happening in my life. And he was so kind. I think we had 2 or 3 conversations at that time. And plus, I had the National Enquirer calling me. They wanted to do a feature story in the National Enquirer, and I'm going, it's going to ruin my career. I could barely handle what was happening to me. And so thanks to a gentleman who I was so pleased to run into Friday night when I arrived in your lovely city here, and to say, Ken, I know you. You helped me through some really crazy days there. That he can testify. My chapter 1 is truth. I really had kind of an interesting journey there. Today, I've got all the answers, right? No, I'm still on a journey, but I'm better than I was a few years ago because I'm beginning to understand now what is happening and what's going on the planet. What I'd like to do, and this is just to break I guess we don't have to break any humor here. You people are pretty loose today, I'll tell you. But I want to show you a couple of cartoons that I picked up from the newspapers. This was from the Chronicle. And I just think they're so adorable since we're talking about UFO activity, etc. Look at this one. Wonderful, just wonderful. So much for instilling them with a sense of awe. That's one of my favorites. I don't remember who sent that one to me, but I just thought that was great. Now, how about this one from the Albuquerque Journal, April 30th, 1990, called Herman. We're running tests, but we think you're from another planet. Both of these are true. Both of those are true. Okay, here's what I'm going to talk with you about today. There is a plan going on Earth today. There is a plan that has been destined for thousands of years that is a perfectly orchestrated plan for Earth to move into another whole new dimension called the 5th dimension. This plan, believe it or not, first paragraph in my speech, it's already starting to get weird. This plan is being orchestrated by a hierarchy on the unseen level that has so many layers of management. We think our organizational structures are pretty intricate in companies like IBM and, you know, our corporations here in this, you know, our third world or third dimension here. But there is a hierarchy of ascended beings up there that is so fantastic, and they are actually orchestrating a plan to help the Earth birth itself from a planet into a star and move into the 5th dimension. Truth. What this means is, and you have to look at everything from a perspective of being energy, it's a physics kind of thing that's going on. Because all of the energies are changing because the vibrations are changing from a lower vibration in the age of Pisces into a higher vibration into the age of Aquarius. This has been destined from the beginning of time. It's what they talked about thousands and thousands of years ago. It has been written from ancient times that the age of Aquarius would be the age of brotherly and sisterly love, because that's what Aquarius stands for. It's perfect. And in the records that we have that talk about the end of the world, you know, the fear, the drama, etc., you're witnessing, folks, the end of the world. It is everywhere around you. It is the end of the third dimension, and every single structure, everything that has been built with a lower vibration must fall to move into a higher vibration. Now let's put that into a physical thing that we can identify with. For example, let's say someday you're feeling on a high and you're feeling wonderful and nothing, can stop that emotion and the feeling. You walk into a room, let's say there's some really negative people, or maybe somebody's gossiping about you or something like that, okay? Occasionally that happens down here, right? Just occasionally. One or two people in my entire life I know occasionally is negative. Okay, you're feeling on a high. You walk into a room and suddenly right in your solar plexus, it's like the expression we use, you can cut the air with a knife, right? You can feel that vibration. Okay? That's something on an intuitive level. That's something on a psychic level. But it's real. And every one of you knows what I'm talking about. That's a lower vibration. Every single thing that we do, see, feel, touch, have, emotion, etc., has its own specific vibration assigned to it. In physics, they can measure it. Even colors and sound. The note A vibrates at 440 beats per second. The color red has its own vibration that can be measured in physics. Everything has an assigned vibration to it. The third dimension is the end of a whole sequence of 7 octaves. It's like do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do. Red, orange, yellow, green, blue, indigo, and violet. Same thing. White light, the colors of the rainbow, okay? Sound, etc. It's an octave. As the Earth is going through the precession of the equinoxes, which we cannot stop, it is going on with or without us. It is moving into the age of Aquarius. We are leaving this octave where the curriculum is light. It is the curriculum of the sound that we can see and hear and feel with our present form. We are right now on the transition where we are moving into a higher vibration. It is a higher octave. As the Earth moves into that, the people that change their vibration to match that will move on with it. They're going to go on. Now, when you go back to that example of going into the room and feeling that, when you look at gossip, anger, jealousy, greed, fear, any of those, they are all the yang energy inspiration. They are low vibratory levels in physics. That's why you feel them in your solar plexus when you walk into the room, instead of up here into the yin, the higher channels of higher energy through here. Everything, as the Earth is moving into the precession of the equinoxes into the age of Aquarius, as it is moving up, everything of the lower nature will automatically crumble. It will be like quicksand. That is why our banking systems are failing. That is why our educational systems are being reorganized. That is why the churches are having so much trouble. That is why there is so much trouble all around. And it is perfect. It is absolutely perfect because the energy that has been channeled into all of these structures by humans like you and me and you and you and you, they've distorted it just a little bit through their ego, through their own perceptions, a human perception. I suspect that few of them even thought that they were doing anything wrong, and they just did it. But as the Earth is going on, we've got a real major incompatibility factor here now, because the Earth is going into a higher vibration, and you've got a whole Earth riddled with lower negativity. You have, look at our planet, dope, drugs, all of the crimes, all of the things, that are driving so many. It's sad. It's really sad to see it, but there's like a real strength right now with this lower vibrational frequency. The plan decrees that as the Earth is going on, and this is also fact, this is what the information that has come through has told me, that the plan is that Earth is really worth saving. Earth is really important to the whole evolutionary plan of the development of the soul. You know, we all know we have souls. We know that it's a never-ending path to God. Now, this is where you have to switch to follow me even further. You have to buy into the concept of reincarnation. It could be very hard for some people to do. I was born and raised Catholic. No way in the world would they allow me to believe that. I was raised by the nuns. But today I'm slowly changing my attitude about that, and I've gotten enough evidence of my own past life remembrances and recollections, and plus the information that's coming through. So for me on a personal journey, I now begin to understand. It makes more sense, okay? But on that path of the soul, to move on and to try other things, Earth is a very, very important lesson. It's an important place to come down and to live for a short period of time, to be able to really raise your soul into a much higher vibration. So Earth is really worth saving, all right? We've noticed the UFO sightings. They have picked up like crazy since the 1940s, right? They've been here all along. You can go back and look into some of the most famous paintings, the religious paintings of hundreds and hundreds of years ago. You see the spaceship in them, the little hidden in the... They're there. They've been here. The Machu Picchu in South America and, you know, all of the wonders and things that we've had. But they just have not interfered because we have a plan down here, and that plan decrees we have free will. That they cannot interfere because we run our own business down here with our free will. And if we absolutely say no, they stay out. But if we give the free will and we allow, then little by little they can start making connections and come and join us and work with us. With this plan of the Earth moving on, what happened is around 1940, what happened in 1945? Sure. The bomb went off. Don't you think they got a little bit worried out there? It's like, oh no, you know, Pleiades to Earth, something's going on down there. They have a vested interest. They have a real vested interest, but also because on the other dimensions of time-space, they also can see into the future. That's why the book of Revelations that John was talking about, you know, there's so many of the things they could see 2,000 years ago. They could see the propensity, not that for sure it will happen, but they could see the propensity of what possibly was going to happen by looking into the future. All right, so the bomb goes off, and suddenly at around 1940 and later, we have all these sightings of craft, you know, that are mystifying us, and all of these things are beginning to happen. The beings that communicate with me, and several people all over the planet, primarily the Arcturians in the fifth dimension, claim very emphatically that they are here in love and light to be able to help their sisters and brothers, and that's me and you, through this transition. They also state that at one time in their own evolution on Arcturus that they too were a third-dimensional reality. And when it was time for them to go through that portal into the fifth dimension, they said the beings from Alpha Centauri were there, just like we have a whole group of beings that are assisting us today. And so they helped them through the portal. But in the beginning, years ago, when I didn't understand all these psychic things and the stuff that was happening to me, the information I was receiving, Cynthia and Betty and I, the two others that we worked together on this book, We the Arcturians, the three of us sat at our computer one day and we were asking the question because we were fairly sure that we were connected with some form of other intelligence here, and in our own arrogance and in our own egos, we're sitting at this computer going, yeah, and why are you here? You know, it's almost like a bratty kind of attitude, you know, like, you know, what are you doing here anyway? You know, this is our home, etc. Well, these beings have a whole different refinement than what I'm used to. You know, I kind of like spout off and, you know, get kind of sassy and stuff like that. And in their gentle, calm way, they turned the whole thing around very quickly, and they gave me, at least, a whole new perspective. as to what was going on. These beings basically said, why are we here? And stated in a beautiful, loving way, let me give you another viewpoint. Look through another window. We are in the fifth dimension. We're already here. And you're coming into our home. And we're looking to see what you have to offer. Look around Earth today. And look where they are, you know, with love and light and all this stuff. And what are we bringing? What kind of baggage are we bringing as we're moving through this portal right on their front step? Coming right in, hi Mom, we're home. You know, we're here with our drugs and rapes and greed and murders and everything. Wars going all over the planet, atom bombs, nuclear bombs, everything exploding. And they very gently and quietly said, why are we here? It's like, oh, wait a minute. You know, maybe there is another side to this coin. Maybe we should look at it from another perspective. And that humbled us quite a bit, too. And it calmed us down a little bit. We thought, okay, let's take another viewpoint here. Plus, in my life anyway, these beings have never interfered with my life. Not at all. They wouldn't even think of doing that. In fact, the beings, like Master Kuthumi and some of them at one time, when I asked a question similar to that, they basically retorted and said, why would we interfere in the laws that we created? We created these laws for Earth. Why would we intervene with them? You know, because if they do, it isn't my karma that goes down, it's theirs. They go spiraling, they know the law. And if they interfere and start messing things up down here and don't allow us to evolve on our own, they're the ones that take the responsibility for that. And their vibrations go right down. So what they will do is guide. They will send love. They will do everything they can and connect with any soul who wishes to connect with them. Here's another part of that plan. Because Earth is so sacred, they call it the beloved Terra. Because their love is so great and they see the incredible gift that people have, the opportunity to incarnate down here and to learn all sorts of lessons to raise the vibration of their soul through the darkest of times and worst of times and best of times. Because we have the duality. This is one of the few places, evidently, in the universe that has the duality. You know, the yin and the yang, the masculine, feminine, negative, positive, etc., to learn from. What they did then is they said that there was a plan this time. They said from this day forward, there would be no more great masters, one at a time coming. There would not be like one Buddha, one Jesus, one Muhammad, one, hundreds of years apart, Confucius, Socrates, etc. And then you have to wait hundreds of years for one more to come. It's time's up. It's up to us. So what they did, their plan, is they have sent this time 1 million souls all over the planet who they call the children of light. They are also called star seeds by some people who are bringing through information. These millions are all over the planet. They've been born into families. They're just as human as you, every one of us. And by the way, several of you in this group here are a part of that group. Where your soul primarily is not from Earth. Your soul has not been one that is reincarnated over and over and over and over in the mucky muck of Earth. And you've never been able to see through the illusion down here and gotten yourself out of it. Your soul has primarily lived on other planets, other parts of the universe that are much, much higher in vibration, much, much more into love and light and creation and wonderment, etc. And those souls have been brought to Earth at this time to become the star seeds, because you are seeding the planet to become a star in the heavens. And the way a planet will become a star is to raise its vibrations in light. So what happens is we have a whole plan going on the whole planet here, and all of us are wondering what is going on, and it's all connected with a spiritual awakening. And this spiritual awakening is going to touch every single soul on the planet. Everyone over time. The groups in the last few years that are just now becoming aware, you're no different, nor are we any better. We're only the first to go. That's all. And it's a little bit harder on us because we're the frontline troops. We are there, and your primary mission, believe it or not, is to be a being of love and light. That's number one. Take care of yourself. Don't get into the negativity. Don't get into the lower values and the greed and all of that. Because you align yourself with God, as Master Kasumi says. You just align yourself with that force and you stand there. Everything you need will be taken care of. That is a promise. And anyone on the planet who aligns themselves that way, it is a promise. And in the next 10 years, there's going to be some rough times. You know, there's some signs, a few signs, things happening around here. Kasumi says it is perfect. It is the cleansing. He said, we can't go into an age of brotherly and sisterly love with all of the baggage that is here. It is perfect. And guess what? And this is what really made me a convert, if you want to call me a convert. This is the way Master Kasumi, and I'll tell you in a moment who Master Kasumi is. This is the way he described it to me. I'm looking at, ooh, this is gloom and doom and pain and suffering, etc., etc. And I thought, well, this doesn't sound too nice. I want something a little bit better. And he said, He said, look at it in a different way. He said, there is a planet that we have prepared that is just now entering the age of Pisces. For those souls who choose through free will not to go into love and light, helping one another, being a friend, just being one with your own God self and, just working, in cooperative, loving, harmonious spirit. For those that want war and anger and greed and jealousy and all that kind of stuff, their vibrations will show it. When the earth is into the fifth dimension, those souls will be kicked back. And they have to, he said, it'll be perfect. They will reincarnate on a planet beginning to enter the Piscean age, where they can relive the wars and the greed and the drugs and all this stuff. When I heard that, I said, I'll be good. I got it. I got your curriculum. No problem. And I'll tell you, I went around so fast cleaning up my act. It's true. And let me tell you one thing. You had opportunities for the last 2,000 years in lifetime after lifetime to clean up unfinished business. You had unfinished business with this soul or that soul. You could come back again in 100 years and the two of you come back together. Maybe you're sister and brother in one lifetime. 100 years later you might be mother and daughter. Next lifetime you might be two colleagues in business together, whatever. It makes no difference. But this lifetime is the big one. You got no more retries. No more. This is it. If you have any unfinished business in this lifetime, I swear, it is going to hold you here and you're going to get kicked back. Trust me. So, you know what you need to do? You need to go back to the curriculum that one of the last great masters came down 2,000 years ago, and we all know who that radiant master is and was. There's so many of them. They're all beautiful. We're not picking on one religion or whatever, but the last one that made one of the biggest impact, it wasn't the last one, was Jesus. And basically his curriculum was in two parts. Everything, two parts. One, love God. Anyone disagree with that? No? Okay. And two, forgive. 2,000 years later, now we're talking real simple curriculum here, folks. Two things. 2,000 years later, how many got it? Obviously. Sir, would you like to make another statement here? I don't quite know how to interpret that. Did he get it or did he not? Okay. So here we are. We're coming around the turn. It's like this horse race. We're coming around the last lap. We're 2011. We're going to be in the age of Aquarius. You've got 20 years to clean up your act. What you need to do is you need to forgive. You need to look at every person who you perceive has done you harm, or you might have felt you have done harm to, and let it go. I used to think years ago that for me to forgive, because when somebody did something to me, I really felt, if I didn't like it, that that was like a lower level thing. How could you do that? Or this, I'd never do this to you, etc., etc., etc. And I used to have this perception that if I forgave you for doing something to me, that I was lowering myself to your standards by accepting that, and therefore I could not. How can I forgive you? Because it's so low level. See? Until it was explained to me in another way by Master Kasumi. He said, forgiving is nothing more than letting go. And I thought, well, yeah, I can let go. That means, you know, that change, it's a paradigm shift in my head. And he said, if there is anything, any person in your life that has that kind of power over you, how do you feel inside? Well, I'd have to analyze. Well, I feel anger. I feel real resentment. You know, it's just a real yucky feeling going on inside of me. So then that means, like Leonie has power over me, okay? Because I'm not letting go. I'm not forgiving you. So what happens is she has power to keep my vibrations low. Am I going to make it into that fifth dimension if my vibrations are down here and I've got to, it's a compatibility factor, I've got to match that vibration up here? No, I'm not going to make it because she has power over me. So in order for me to stay in light, to stay in love, I have to let her go. That doesn't mean I have to accept what any person does to me or whatever. And he says you can do this through your own higher self. And you can do it in your own prayers and meditation. I don't even have to go to you physically and say, please forgive me, or well, can, you know, etc., etc. You can do it in your heart by letting go. Just let it go. And when you let it go, because everything is energy, that dark pocket of energy that eats at you and churns and drives you, etc., suddenly the energy lifts. And it's gone. And then just send it up to be recycled. We need to do that these days. Not just aluminum cans. Send the little pocket of negativity up to be recycled. And let them restore the energy and then bring it back to Earth. That's another of the missions of the star seeds. Just send it up. Send it up to heaven, wherever your mind takes you. And say, bless it. And most likely you will find that the individual that treated you the crummiest, that did the worst things. Leonie, when you did all those things to me, honestly, you were despicable. But when I let it go and I began to analyze my life, I realized that Leonie is my best friend. She has been my master teacher. And only I called her into my life, and it might have been a lesson to learn, something like maybe I was to learn and actually master unconditional love. And if I don't have somebody to play that role in my life to learn